Hello again, folks. Thought I'd give you a quick video regarding this so-called fuel crisis here in the UK. And the reason I'm saying so-called is because there is no fuel shortage. There is a driver shortage. Now, I consider myself a bit of an authority on this because I'm a HGV driver. I've got the license and I've got many friends in the industry. So obviously we talk to each other and they know what's going on. So with that regard, I have my ear to the ground. Now, the reason I'm doing this video is because I want to dispel the myth that Brexit is to blame for this, because it isn't. It really isn't. And as you know, on my channel, many of you know, I do videos based on what I see on Twitter. I bring it to you and I disprove many of them, and I just take the piss out of the left waffer and the Twitter youth on there, because these people are insane. They really are. They are the epitome of hate and fake news. They really are, and things that just suit their own narrative. And many of these people on Twitter are posting videos of themselves stuck in traffic queues to get fuel, and they're using their phone cameras and saying, this is what you voted for, Brexit voters. There's loads of these videos out there. They're making absolute tits of themselves, because it's not true. It really isn't true. And as I suspect, many of them really want to see the country fail because of Brexit. And of course, many of them on Twitter and online have the hashtag FBPE, which means fuck Brexit, pro EU, on their Twitter handle. And they're pretty hateful people, and they can't wait for this country to fail simply because they lost a democratic vote in 2016. That's the level of hatred and intelligence we're speaking of here when dealing with FBPE people on Twitter. So anyway, these lunatics will have you know that there's a fuel shortage, and there's a fuel shortage because the fuel can't get to Britain because of we're not in the EU anymore, and we're independent of the EU, and all because of Brexit, and that's why people voted Brexit, because they were stupid. But that's not the fact at all, because if you go onto a website called Transport Intelligence, they will tell you absolutely everything about the driver shortage, not only in the UK, but also in Europe. So far here in the UK, we're short of around 40,000 drivers. But in the EU, all the member states there, they're short of 400,000 lorry drivers. So if Brexit caused all this, then the EU caused all that in Europe. It doesn't make sense, does it? And if we voted for Brexit to leave the EU, which means the EU is a perfect paradise where there is no fuel and lorry driver shortage, but there is here because of Brexit. But the reason for that isn't a fuel shortage, ladies and gentlemen. There are BP and Shell garages still building petrol or fuel locations all over the country still. Now, if there was a fuel shortage, they wouldn't be building them, would they? Now, many HGV drivers here in the UK have retired. It's not a very good lifestyle choice. You're out on the road for a long, long time, and there are draconian driving laws as well, which means you have to stop after a certain amount of driving hours. You have to sleep. You have to use the tachograph and to record everything, and anything wrong with that, you can get pulled over on the side of the road by the is it the Highways Agency, and they can check everything, your tire pressure, your load you're carrying, and more often than not, employers will overload their lorries, which means fines, and fines are pretty heavy. As a former prison officer, I have seen quite a few HGV drivers do time simply for not doing a tachograph correctly, all sorts of things, heavy payloads, a door open on the highway, all sorts of things. The law comes down heavy, really heavy on HGV drivers, especially if you haven't shown that you've had a kip or an app or a brake on your digital tachograph, then they'll come down you. The fines are draconian. You get a fine, your employer gets a fine, and because they've been fined because of you, because of being caught, whatever, then you get the sack. So it's not a really attractive lifestyle choice and a job anymore. It really isn't. And on top of that, the cost of getting a HGV driving license, the training, the test, it's astronomical. And if you want to drive things like fuel, you have to get a hazardous materials license or a hazmat license. And they cost money. They cost a lot of money. So if you fail a HGV test or whatever, you have to pay for another one, and they're not cheap. And who the hell's going to do that? If you keep failing and you really want the job, then why bother? So many people aren't going for it because another reason, the cost. And of course, there's the cost of getting that stupid CPC professional driving card, which costs 500 quid, and it's a week's worth of sitting there in a classroom being bored to death. That was brought in by the EU, that was brought in by the French, and then the EU adopted it. And as soon as the EU adopted it, the French said, oh no, we're not having it. So everyone's stuck and lumped with this stupid bit of card you need to drive professionally, and it costs a lot of money. 500 quid is a lot of money. Not many people can afford that. Again, making the HGV industry too expensive to get into nowadays. And it's thanks to the EU. And of course, you got the new IR35 tax change, I think the form is IR35. The IR35 tax change, which means, in layman's terms, you pay more tax and your employer pays more tax. So the more you earn, the more you're taxed. So the more they take off you. You know, it's a good old government thing. They'll give you a lollipop and then say, right, we'll take that back. So it's pointless earning it. And of course, you've got these workforce at the moment stretched really badly. And it's really thinly stretched out because of the boom in online shopping. And because of the plague, you know, people are buying more things online because they don't want to go out, they're scared, or there's nothing on the shelves. And it's a vicious circle. It's a vicious circle. So you've got the plague, the cost of getting a license, and changes to tax, and the fact that you're out on the road for days on end, sometimes sleeping in a cab in the back. It's not nice, you know. People say, oh, at least it's a job. Well, who wants to have an uncomfortable job for the rest of your life? Do you want to live happy or not? Live to work or work to live? I know which one I'd rather do. I know I've got the license and I don't do that much HGV driving, because I don't think I could live like that. Plus, the more I earn, the more the government take away, and that's not fucking fair. So there we go, folks. It's nothing to do with the fact that we left the EU. These idiots online, on Twitter, everywhere else, they just want it to be that, because they can't think, and they want Britain to fail. And they're blaming absolutely everything on Brexit. These people have got the trots on the toilet. Oh, Brexit. My neighbour had a delivery driver the other week, and I was listening to the conversation, as you do. You can't help it, stood in the garden, and she had rotten vegetables. Some of the vegetables picked for the home delivery were quite rotten, and she said to the driver, oh, is that because of Brexit? Little does she know, most of the pickers in that shop come from the EU. So it won't be British pickers, you know, mostly, who are doing the picking. You can use that as an excuse. It's just crazy, absolutely crazy. I'm not saying all EU pickers in shops are shitty at the job. I'm not saying that at all. But you can't blame Europe, or you can't blame Britain and Brexit for everything, because you're a hateful twat. It's that simple. And these people doing their videos in garage forecourts, they shouldn't be using a camera phone on a garage forecourt anyway, saying, thank you, Brexiteers, this is what you voted for. There's loads of them. There's loads of these videos, and it's just stupid. But hopefully I've knocked that on the head for you. Lefties watching my video, they won't want to believe this, even though I'm giving you the facts. You can go onto a website called the Transport Intelligence. You get some of this, and I get it from my colleagues. So there we go. If it was Brexit, I'd tell you it was, and I'd say, oh, I wish we hadn't voted for it. But it's not. Unlucky Kentucky. Right, that's my video. Please comment, share, subscribe. If you want to support my channel, then feel free to buy me a beer. Because by buying me a beer, neither YouTube nor Google get their censorship-soaked hands on what you decide to donate. So there we go. Right, please comment, share, subscribe, and until my next video, Roger Trout.